Have you ever noticed that your legs just don't feel like yours anymore? Maybe it starts with a heaviness in the evening, a feeling like you are dragging concrete blocks instead of lifting your feet. Or perhaps it's that moment of hesitation when you get out of a chair, where you have to steady yourself for a few seconds before your legs decide to hold you up. For millions of seniors across the US and Europe, this is a daily, silent reality. You go to the doctor, and the answer is almost always the same script. It's just part of aging. They might tell you to walk more or accept that you're slowing down. But deep down, you know that isn't the whole story. Why do some people in their 80s walk with a spring in their step, while others in their 60s struggle to cross the living room? The truth is, your body is a construction site that never closes, even while you sleep. It is trying to repair muscles, rebuild nerves, and strengthen bones. But what almost no one tells you is that this construction crew often runs out of raw materials after the age of 60. There is a silent deficiency of 3 specific vitamins that act as the fuel for your lower body. Without them, your legs will get weaker, your balance will fade, and the risk of a life-changing fall triples. But here is the good news. This is not permanent damage. It is a shortage, and shortages can be fixed. In this comprehensive guide, we are going to dive deep into the science that most doctors don't have time to explain. We will uncover the 3 nutrients that can increase leg strength by up to 31%. And later, we will reveal the circulation secrets to stop those nighttime cramps for good. This information is backed by research, but it's rarely found in mainstream ads because natural vitamins simply aren't profitable for big pharma. Before we begin, I want you to do something for me. In the comments below, tell me, do you feel more unsteadiness in the morning when you wake up, or at night after a long day? Your answer helps us tailor our future advice. Now, let's rebuild your foundation, starting with the first missing link. Let's talk about the first nutrient, one that is responsible for the very signal that tells your legs to move vitamin B12. Most people think of B12 as the energy vitamin. While that's true, its role goes much, much deeper than just waking you up in the morning. Think of your body like a house. Your brain is the switchboard, and your legs are the appliances in the basement. Vitamin B12 acts as the insulation, technically called the myelin sheath, that wraps around the electrical wires connecting the switchboard to the basement. When you are young, this insulation is thick and pristine. Signals travel instantly. You think move, and your legs move. But as we age, if B12 levels drop, that insulation begins to fray, just like an old phone charger cable. The result? The signal gets static. You might tell your foot to lift, but the message arrives a fraction of a second too late, or too weak. This is why B12 deficiency in seniors doesn't look like fatigue at first. It looks like clumsiness. It feels like your feet are numb, or covered in thick wool socks when you are walking barefoot. It manifests as that terrifying moment where your foot catches on a rug because you didn't lift it high enough. Research published in neurological journals indicates that up to 43% of adults over 60 are deficient or borderline deficient in B12. Why is this number so high? It is not necessarily because you aren't eating enough meat or eggs. It is because of your stomach. After age 60, the lining of your stomach thins out and produces less hydrochloric acid. This acid is critical for separating B12 from the food you eat. You could be eating a steak every night, but without that acid, the B12 passes right through you, leaving your nerves starving. The symptoms are subtle but progressive. It starts with tingling in the toes, a sensation often mistaken for poor circulation or diabetes. Then comes the proprioception loss, which is a fancy way of saying your brain loses track of exactly where your feet are in space. This is a primary cause of falls in the bathroom or bedroom at night. So, how do we fix this? Since your stomach is the bottleneck, the most effective strategy for seniors is to bypass the stomach entirely. We recommend looking for a sublingual form of B12. These are small tablets that dissolve under your tongue. This allows the vitamin to enter your bloodstream directly through the tissues in your mouth. Furthermore, look specifically for methylcobalamin. This is the active, natural form of B12 that your body recognizes instantly. Avoid cyanocobalamin, which is the cheaper, synthetic version found in most multivitamins that your liver has to work hard to convert. When you take methylcobalamin before bed, you are providing your nervous system with the raw materials to repair that myelin sheath while you sleep. Within 2 to 6 weeks, many seniors report the return of sensation in their toes, a steadier gait, and the lifting of that heavy fog in their legs. Once the nerves are firing, we need to look at the machinery itself, your muscles. This brings us to the second, and perhaps most misunderstood nutrient, vitamin D3. If I asked you what vitamin D is for, you would probably say bones. You aren't wrong. But in the last decade, science has discovered that D3 is actually a steroid hormone that unlocks the potential of your muscle fibers. Here is the reality of aging muscles. Every day you move, you create microscopic tears in your muscle tissue. This is normal. In a healthy body, you go to sleep, and your body rushes in to patch those tears, making the muscles stronger. This is called muscle protein synthesis. However, vitamin D3 acts as the foreman of that construction crew. Without adequate D3 floating in your bloodstream, that repair process stalls. The tears don't heal properly. Over time, instead of strong, dense muscle, your legs become filled with fatty deposits and weak tissue. This condition has a name: sarcopenia, or age-related muscle loss. You might be thinking, I live in a sunny place. I'm fine. This is the most dangerous myth for seniors. As we age, our skin loses the efficiency to convert sunlight into vitamin D. A 70-year-old makes about 75% less vitamin D from the same amount of sun exposure as a 20-year-old. You literally cannot sunbathe your way out of a deficiency at this age. The deficiency shows up as a deep, dull ache in the thighs or calves, often diagnosed as growing pains in kids, but in seniors, it's wasting pains. It also presents as a difficulty in pushing yourself up from a seated position. That grunt you make when getting off the sofa. That is often the sound of a vitamin D deficiency. Studies involving thousands of seniors have shown that supplementing with D3 can reduce the risk of falling by over 30%. Why? Because it specifically strengthens the type 2 muscle fibers. These are the fast twitch fibers responsible for catching you when you slip. If you trip on a curb, type 2 fibers react instantly to keep you upright. Without D3, those fibers atrophy first. The protocol for restoring this is simple but specific. Most comprehensive studies suggest a dosage between 2,000 to 4,000 IU daily for seniors, depending on your current levels. But here is the secret: timing matters. Taking D3 at night can be beneficial because your body enters its peak repair mode during slow-wave sleep. By having D3 available in the bloodstream exactly when growth hormones are released, you maximize the repair of those leg muscles. But be careful. D3 is fat-soluble. If you take it with a glass of water on an empty stomach, you might as well flush it down the toilet. You must take it with a source of fat. A spoonful of peanut butter, a slice of cheese, or some yogurt is enough to trigger bile production and ensure absorption. But D3 is powerful, and it needs a partner to ensure it doesn't cause harm. That leads us to the third missing link, the one that directs traffic. Now, we have B12 for your nerves and D3 for your muscles. But there is one final piece of the puzzle that is often called the forgotten vitamin. If you are taking vitamin D3 or calcium supplements without this nutrient, you might inadvertently be causing more stiffness in your legs than you are solving. This nutrient is vitamin K2. Here is the problem. As we age, our bones tend to lose calcium, becoming brittle. At the same time, our arteries and joints tend to gain calcium, becoming stiff and hard. This is the calcium paradox. You want calcium in your skeleton, not clogging up the blood vessels in your legs. Vitamin K2 is the traffic controller. It activates a protein called osteocalcin, which grabs calcium from your bloodstream and physically pushes it into your bone matrix. Simultaneously, it activates another protein called MGP that scrubs calcium out of your soft tissues, keeping your arteries flexible and your joints moving smoothly. Why does this matter for leg strength? Because if your arteries are calcified, hardened like old pipes, blood cannot flow efficiently to your leg muscles. You can have all the D3 in the world, but if the supply roads are blocked by calcium deposits, your legs will feel heavy, cold, and weak. Many seniors confuse K2 with K1. Vitamin K1 comes from spinach and kale and helps your blood clot so you don't bleed out from a cut. That's important. But K2 is different. It is found mostly in fermented foods like natto, a Japanese soybean dish, or certain high-fat cheeses, foods that are rarely found in the standard Western diet. This is why nearly everyone over 50 in the US and Europe is deficient in K2. The synergy here is powerful. Vitamin D3 acts as the gatekeeper that lets calcium into your body. Vitamin K2 is the guide that tells it where to go. Taking them together is one of the most effective ways to ensure your legs remain strong pillars rather than stiff columns. For seniors, the specific form you want to look for is MK7 menaquinone 7. This is the natural form derived from fermentation. It stays in your body for up to 72 hours, doing its work constantly. The synthetic form, MK4, disappears in just a few hours. By adding K2 to your nightly routine alongside D3, you are doing double duty, strengthening the bone density in your hips and legs to prevent breaks, and clearing the pathways for better blood flow. And speaking of blood flow, this brings us to the second, critical part of our video. We have talked about the structure, the nerves, muscles, and bones, but a house is useless if the plumbing doesn't work. Your circulatory system is a 60,000-mile network of vessels. In your legs, this system has to fight gravity every single second to push blood back up to your heart. As we age, the valves in our veins weaken and the arteries narrow. This isn't just about discomfort. Poor circulation in the legs is the #1 warning sign of a potentially life-threatening event, a blood clot, or deep vein thrombosis DVT. A clot that forms in your leg can break loose and travel to your lungs. Your body is constantly talking to you. It sends you 5 specific warning signals when your circulation is struggling. Most people brush these off as just getting old. Do not ignore them. Let's decode them right now. The first sign is often visible before it is physical. Look at your legs and feet. When circulation is optimal, your skin should have a healthy, consistent tone. But when the arteries narrow, a condition called peripheral artery disease, PAD, the oxygen supply to the skin is cut off. You might notice your feet or ankles looking unusually pale when you elevate them, or turning a dark, reddish-blue when you are standing. This is called dependent rubor. It means gravity is pulling the blood down, but your veins are struggling to pump it back up. Another subtle sign, hair loss on your legs. If you used to have hair on your shins or toes, and now the skin is shiny, tight, and hairless, that is not a random change. Hair follicles need a rich blood supply to grow. When the body has to prioritize, it cuts off blood to the non-essential hair follicles to save it for the muscles. This also means your skin becomes fragile. A small scratch from a pet or a blister from a shoe takes weeks to heal instead of days. If you notice a sore on your leg that just won't close, this is a red alert. Your blood isn't delivering the oxygen and white blood cells needed to repair the tissue. We talked about muscle cramps from vitamin deficiency earlier, but there is a different kind of cramp that is far more dangerous. Doctors call it intermittent claudication. I call it the stopper. Here is how to tell the difference. Nutritional cramps, like from low magnesium or D3, usually happen when you are lying in bed or resting, but circulatory cramps happen when you are active. Picture this. You are walking to the mailbox or through the grocery store. Suddenly, a sharp, tight pain grips your calf or thigh. You have to stop and rest. After a few minutes of standing still, the pain fades and you can walk again. This is exactly like angina chest pain, but in your legs. Your muscles are screaming for oxygen because the arteries are clogged with plaque. When you rest, the demand for oxygen drops, so the pain stops. When you walk, the demand rises and the supply line can't keep up. If you experience this rest-walk pattern, it is a definitive sign of arterial blockage. Ignoring this significantly increases your risk of heart attack or stroke, because if the arteries in your legs are clogged, the arteries in your heart likely are too. Sign number 3 is tingling or numbness. We mentioned this with vitamin B12, but circulatory numbness feels slightly different. When blood flow is restricted, your nerves literally begin to suffocate. You might feel a pins and needles sensation, similar to when your foot falls asleep. But it happens when you haven't been sitting awkwardly. It might happen while you are just sitting in your recliner or lying in bed. The danger here is the loss of sensation. I have spoken to seniors who stepped on a tack or got a pebble in their shoe and walked on it all day without knowing because their feet were numb. This led to an ulcer that became infected. If you have cold hands and feet constantly, even in a warm room, this is your body pulling blood into the core to protect your vital organs, leaving your extremities to fend for themselves. It is a survival mechanism, but when it happens chronically, it damages the nerve endings permanently. This leads us directly to sign number 4, cold feet. Do you wear wool socks to bed even in summer? Does your spouse complain that your feet feel like blocks of ice, while some people naturally run colder? A sudden or persistent change in the temperature of one or both feet is a hallmark of arterial insufficiency. Sometimes, one foot might be colder than the other. This is a critical clue. If your left foot is warm and your right foot is icy, you may have a blockage specifically in the right leg's artery. This coldness is often accompanied by a weak pulse in the feet. Next time you are relaxed, put your finger on the top of your foot or the inside of your ankle. Can you feel a pulse if it's hard to find or very faint? That river of blood we talked about earlier has turned into a trickle. The 5th and most visible sign that your leg circulation is under stress is varicose veins and spider veins. Many seniors dismiss these as purely cosmetic, just an ugly side effect of aging that they cover up with long pants. But I want you to look deeper. These twisted, bulging, bluish cords are not just on the surface. They are a signal of a mechanical failure deep inside your legs. Your veins have tiny, one-way valves, When your heart pumps, blood shoots up. When the heart rests, these valves snap shut to stop gravity from pulling the blood back down to your feet. When you see a varicose vein, it means those valves have failed. They have become floppy. Blood is leaking backward and pooling in the leg, stretching the vein until it bulges. This condition is called venous insufficiency. Why is this dangerous? Because when blood pools and stops moving, it wants to clot. Stagnant blood is a breeding ground for deep vein thrombosis DVT. If you have these veins, accompanied by a heavy aching sensation or swelling at the end of the day, edema, your circulatory system is crying out for support. So, we have identified the problems: weak legs, poor signaling, and struggling circulation. Now, let's switch gears. Let's talk about the solution. Beyond the big three we discussed for muscle B12, D3, K2. There are specific nutrients designed to widen your arteries, strengthen your vein walls, and keep your blood flowing like a rushing river. The first tool in your circulation toolkit is vitamin B3, scientifically known as niacin. Think of your arteries as a highway. Over time, due to inflammation and plaque, that highway narrows from 4 lanes down to 1. Traffic jams ensue. Niacin works as a powerful vasodilator. It essentially relaxes the walls of your blood vessels, widening the highway back up so your blood can flow freely. This is critical for seniors because niacin has also been shown to boost HDL, the good cholesterol, which acts like a cleanup crew, sweeping plaque out of your arteries. However, a word of caution: niacin is powerful. If you take a high dose, you might experience the niacin flush, a sensation where your face turns red and feels warm for about 20 minutes. It feels strange, but it is actually a sign the vitamin is working to open up your capillaries. If you want to avoid the flush, you can simply eat your way to better flow. Foods like chicken breast, tuna, salmon, and peanuts are packed with natural B3. By including these in your diet, you help reduce the risk of blockages that lead to those painful nighttime cramps. Next, we need to reinforce the walls of your veins. Imagine your veins are made of rubber hoses. Over 60 or 70 years, that rubber gets dry, brittle, and prone to cracking. This is why seniors bruise so easily, the capillaries shatter at the slightest touch. The solution is vitamin C, but not just for immunity. Vitamin C is the primary fuel for collagen production. Collagen is the glue that holds your body together. It provides the structure and elasticity to your blood vessels. Without enough vitamin C, your artery walls weaken. They can't expand and contract with your heartbeat. By increasing your vitamin C intake, you are essentially greasing the rubber, keeping those vessel walls flexible and strong. The best part: you don't need a pill for this. Nature provides the best sources. Citrus fruits are obvious, but did you know that red bell peppers contain 3 times more vitamin C than an orange, kiwis, and strawberries are also powerhouses? But remember, vitamin C is heat sensitive. If you boil your vegetables to death, you kill the vitamin. Try to eat these foods fresh or lightly steamed to get the vascular protection you need. Finally, we need to make sure the blood itself isn't too sticky. This is where vitamin E comes in. Vitamin E is a potent antioxidant, but for your legs, its superpower is preventing platelets from clumping together. It creates a slippery surface inside your arteries, ensuring that red blood cells glide past each other rather than sticking and forming a clot. It also helps your body produce nitric oxide, a molecule that signals your blood vessels to relax. You can find vitamin E in sunflower seeds, almonds, avocados, and spinach. A handful of almonds a day can go a long way. Important warning: Because vitamin E naturally thins the blood. If you are already taking prescription blood thinners like warfarin or Coumadin, you must talk to your doctor before adding a vitamin E supplement. We want to improve flow, not cause bleeding issues. For most people, getting it from food is the safest and most effective method. We have covered a lot of ground today. We realize that the weakness in your legs isn't just old age. It could be a silent cry for B12 to fix your nerves, D3 to rebuild your muscles, and K2 to guide calcium into your bones. We also learned that cold feet, cramps, and varicose veins are your body's warning lights for circulation, and that niacin, vitamin C, and vitamin E can help turn those lights off. Here is the truth. Your body is forgiving. It wants to heal. It just needs the right tools. You do not have to accept a life of sitting in a chair, afraid of falling, or dealing with constant pain. Imagine waking up 30 days from now. You swing your legs out of bed, and instead of stiffness, you feel stability. You walk to the kitchen without holding the wall. You spend the day in the garden, and that heavy, aching feeling is gone. That reality is possible, and it starts with the choices you make at your next meal. I want to hear from you. Which of these symptoms sounded most familiar to you? Was it the nighttime cramps or the cold feet? Let me know in the comments below. I read them to help create videos that solve your specific problems. If you found value in this deep dive, please do me a favor. Click that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. It helps our channel grow and ensures you never miss the next breakthrough in senior health. And don't go yet if you are worried about blood clots. You need to watch this next video right here, where we reveal the natural blood thinners that are likely already in your kitchen pantry. Click here, and I'll see you there.